What is entrepreneurship and who is an entrepreneur? In this video, we will fully flesh out the meaning and substance of what entrepreneurialism truly is. We often hear that so-and-so is an entrepreneur who has started his or her own business. It is also the case that when we hear the term entrepreneur, we tend to associate it with a person who has or is starting their own ventures, or in other words, striking in on their own. This is indeed the case, as the formal definition of entrepreneurship is that it is the process of starting a business or an organization for profit or for social needs. Before we get started, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons to be sure not to miss any of our amazing content in the future. An entrepreneur is someone who develops a business model, acquires the necessary physical and human capital to start a new venture, and operationalizes it and is responsible for its success or failure. Note the emphasis of the phrase responsible for success or failure, as the entrepreneur is distinct from the professional manager in the sense that the former either invests his or her own resources or raises capital from external sources, and thus takes the blame for the failure as well as reaps the rewards in case of success, whereas the latter, or the professional manager, does the job and the work assigned to him or her for a monetary consideration. In other words, the entrepreneur is the risk taker and an innovator in addition to being a creator of new enterprises, whereas the professional manager is simply the executor. Attributes of entrepreneurs. Moving to the skills and capabilities that an entrepreneur needs to have, first and foremost, he or she has to be an innovator who has a game-changing idea or a potentially new concept that can succeed in the crowded marketplace. Note that investors usually tend to invest in ideas and concepts which they feel would generate adequate returns for their capital and investments, and hence, the entrepreneur needs to have a truly innovative idea for a new venture. Leadership qualities. Apart from this, the entrepreneur needs to have excellent organizational and people management skills, as he or she has to build the organization or the venture from scratch and has to bond with his or her employees as well as vibe well with the other stakeholders to ensure success of the venture. Further, the entrepreneur needs to be a leader who can inspire his or her employees as well as be a visionary and a person with a sense of mission, as it is important that the entrepreneur motivates and drives the venture. This means that leadership, values, team-building skills, and managerial abilities are the key skills and attributes that an entrepreneur needs to have. An entrepreneur is a risk-taker. We have discussed what entrepreneurship is and the skills and attributes needed by entrepreneurs, along with how they engage and indulge in creative destruction. This does not mean that all entrepreneurs are successful, as the fact that they can become victims of creative destruction as well as due to lack of the other traits means that a majority of new ventures do not survive past the 1-year mark of their existence. Now, when ventures fail, the obvious question is who takes the blame for the failure and whose money is being lost. The answer is that the entrepreneur puts his or her own money or raises capital from angel investors and venture capitalists, which means in case the venture goes belly up, the entrepreneur and the investors lose money. Note that, as mentioned earlier, the employees and the professional managers lose their jobs, and unless they are partners in the venture, their money is not at stake. Therefore, this means that the entrepreneur is the risk taker in the venture, which means that the success or failure of the firm reflects on the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship needs a nurturing ecosystem. Finally, note the use of the term nurturing ecosystem. This means that just as entrepreneurs cannot succeed if they lack the necessary attributes, they cannot succeed even having them, but living in an environment or a country that does not encourage risk or tolerate failure, and more importantly, is unable to provide them with the monetary and human capital needed for success. This means that the United States remains the preeminent country for entrepreneurship, as it has the ecosystem needed for these entrepreneurs to succeed, whereas in many countries, it is often impossible or difficult to find funding, work through red tape, and ensure that the environmental factors do not inhibit entrepreneurship. Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you feel like you have received some real value from this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and drop us a comment to let us know if we are serving you. Until next time, we remain Business Brain USA.